Hi everybody. Welcome
Hi.
to the Rewinds Rewind. First episode. We just thought it would be a fun, like, new way to do like kind of cycle recaps and like new interactions and everything without just people staring at another wall of text on Discord. There's enough of those. So here we are.
Yeah.
I'm Jackson. I guess I'm like the key maker art design person.
Hi, it's me, Swan. Gay, homosexual gay.
I'm Sydney, the woman minority hire.
Right.
God
And
damn it.
also the personality hire when Jackson and Swan are not online.
I mean,
I'm
if you're gonna be
Shinx.
on it.
I'm the owner, that's all I do. I didn't win last season or anything. That'd be crazy to bring up
Oh
when
my
no one
Oh
God.
asked about
Move on,
God.
move on, move on.
Tacky.
Next.
Ooh.
Speaking
Hi,
of
I'm
winners, hi Graham.
Graham. I am the winner of season 13 and the favorite
Yay!
player of season 8. And I work on competitions and am Jackson's boyfriend. Great.
Woo!
Oh my
We
God.
will have, as the weeks go on, special guests, if it's alumni or
Ooh.
people involved in the Big Brother Rewinds sphere, just in general, that will
The
come
real
on.
Frankie Grande.
Yeah, we'll
So
pay a
excited for
cameo.
that one.
Yeah, it'll just be fun. It'll just be a fun new way to recap stuff for people that want to listen. So let's get started. I thought going into all of these little episodes, it would be like a fun thing to just have like here's the headline for cycle one. And I would be remiss if I did not have the cycle one headline be Frankie Grande unanimously backdoored in 16th place of Big Brother Rewind 16.
What an icon.
A tragedy of our time.
I know. I
Absolutely.
think
I
even
fell to
just
my knees.
yeah, even just looking at the eliminator, quite clearly, many people did not expect this to happen. Or
Me
were
included.
I genuinely, like, the day of the eviction, I could not stop laughing just at the mental image of, because people have been talking about Frankie Grande and who's going to play as Frankie Grande and how is Frankie Grande going to be on Big Brother Rewind 16 for literal years. So the fact that this is where we ended up, I think it's just
It's so poetic. I think it actually cemented his legacy more than anything else could have. I mean, what is more fitting, honestly?
Exactly. It was destiny.
it really was. I think it was like a self-fulfilling. He flew too close to the glitter sun. And honestly, I think it's probably better if like
It is.
that if Frankie just had like a kind of whatever
A
run.
Jeevan run
I
or
was gonna
whatever.
say,
This is more iconic.
I'd rather him be first boot and get in a fight on the way out than like
Yes.
just be a random other pre-juror. Like, no
Absolutely.
circumstance.
Exactly.
Yeah, just have like a whatever run and get like early jury or like late pre-jury or something. I think that just makes it more iconic.
Like Frankie needed to either win or get first boot.
Absolutely.
Pour one out for Frankie Grande.
Yeah. We'll have a moment of silence, everybody, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Funnily enough, Frankie Grande has spent more time on other seasons in BB Rewinds than he has on his own season.
You're
Yeah.
It's very
right.
true.
He really
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
And I bet if you broke it down, I bet the number of messages that people have sent as Frankie Grande in various skits across the seasons of BB Rewinds is probably more than what he sent on his 4 days in the game. So
I can 100% make the argument. I know if you just took my messages alone out of just my 2 seasons I played, not even me as a host, where I said the word Frankie, I sent more messages than he ever did in the server. I know for a fact.
Okay, well, now that we've added an iconic, possibly the greatest first boot of all time in BB Rewind's history.
Possibly the greatest player of
We'll have that discussion.
Stop.
Newlio, watch out.
It's the start of the season. I feel like we need to like set the scene and kind of
Yeah, should we go back and figure out how we got to this
yeah.
circumstance
How
in the first place?
how did we get here?
What did we miss on Glee?
Stop.
This is the Untucked. They need the other half of the story.
For sure.
Exactly.
So I think largely, as far as like at least in recent memory, this newbie cast has been kind of amazing.
Fire. They're
Absolutely
wild.
iconic.
Like across the board, even like Frankie, like the people that have been maybe a little bit on the lower end of like consistently messaging people when they are on, they are like
Personality.
And
They
it's
are bringing
crazy.
personality.
And yeah, so they all entered. They were split into two little houses because, of course, this is the first season that introduced the fan favorite twist, Battle of the Block. Julie Chen Moonvez's words, not mine. We needed to have two HOHs. So they were split up into little Team Magma and Team Aqua. For some reason, the standout moment in this whole thing, well, there's a couple. I think Christine not getting eliminated and then going to her diary room and being like, why aren't I being eliminated? I'm not talking to these people. That was really funny. I think Paula being like ridiculously good in it for some reason.
Yes.
For no reason.
And then choking the tiebreaker was the best
Yeah,
part.
I feel
But-
like
and also like Paula actively like participating in the competition, but like ghosting half of the house. Like she literally
sure.
had like was leaving people on red, checking in every 30 minutes to send the messages for the competition, and then leaving and still leaving those people on red.
yes, and I really feel like Paula in this first HOH competition set up this image of what she was gonna be in my mind.
Mhm.
for her.
Oh, yeah.
And she
And
was
then-
like, okay, bye.
Checked
And
out.
ceased to exist.
That's my pow
I
pow.
just ran the T top, and Brittany has the most messages, and Paula has the least,
Brittany does?
including Frankie. That's what I
Brittany's-
said.
We can get into this, but Brittany has been described in as kind of like a game bot, so that actually doesn't surprise me if
Oh,
you're
yeah,
taking
that
that description. Like,
And
Uh,
speaking of, I mean, Brittany does end up being one of our head of households.
Well,
that we-
that was another funny moment was she clocked everybody as throwing, and so
Yeah.
she was like, and that's why it ended up working in somebody like Paola's favor because Brittany was essentially like, well, at least Paola was trying in the competition. I'm not gonna nominate her,
That's true. And
which is like the only reason I think Paola
the
survived
only
this week.
thing that set her apart from not getting nominated.
Yeah, and I mean, even when it came down to Brittany eventually later on in the cycle having to make a renom after the veto, Brittany literally said, like, well, I feel like I can't nominate Paula because she did so well in the first HOH competition that it would be seen as I'm like making this move against this like
Yeah,
comp beast.
this
So
comp beast who doesn't message anybody.
but yeah, so Brittany ends up winning for Team Magma, and then Derek won for Team Aqua. And
Mhm.
one of my personal favorite like subplots of the show so far is people very quickly like coming to the realization that Brittany is taking things very seriously. She's very much like the straight man, like what's going on?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, can we talk
I
about
thought I
how
was the
it absolutely infuriates her that people call her Brit? She's
Oh
just
my
decided
God.
that that is a crime. She hates it. And then we asked her, why do you hate it? She went, I don't know. I don't like it.
And bear in mind, I mean, sorry to burst everyone's bubble out there. Brittany is not her name.
No, that's not even her real name.
That's my thing because I actually get it on a fundamental level about like not wanting to like people just assuming a nickname on you,
Yeah,
Sure.
but it's not your name.
You're playing
No.
a character.
funny. So yeah, it's a repeated thing you guys will see throughout this cycle.
But yeah, for a very unserious cast, Brittany is very much serious.
Yes.
She's people have clocked her as like like they think she's a millennial. She's been called dry by like quite a few times. I was going through DRs one time and I was like taking notes and it was like somebody said that it was like Devin said or Derek says that Brittany is dry, and then I clicked on Devin's right after and Devin was like Brittany is so dry, and I was
Yeah.
But yeah, okay,
Anyways.
so we have our HOHs, Brittany
Mhm.
and Derek. Brittany chooses to nominate first, which makes Derek nominating second. It's really they have quite a few people to choose from. Not
Yeah.
so much for people being like inactive, but there is a definite like
Yeah, well, that's what's interesting about this cast that I said a few times in like the spec chat, but just how the dynamics are like. There's a few universally liked people, a few universally like not really loved people, but everybody else, everybody has different opinions of or like different levels of investment in, and so that's what's really going to be interesting, especially with this twist, is like we're gonna have a lot of disagreements, I think, of over who like the obvious four noms should be every round. This round it seemed to be a little easier just because Derek and Brittany got off to a good start, I think. And so they kind of
Yes.
have similar perceptions. The only big difference I remember was that like Brittany had suggested Donnie, and Derek was like, I'm not really comfortable nominating Donnie, so if you want to do that one, that's fine. But otherwise, they seemed like pretty much on the same page.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really interested to see if in future cycles, if maybe like before, because I know they're supposed to like choose as soon as possible who's going first and who's going second. But I'm interested to see if maybe that plays a factor into like if two people with just the exact opposite like
Right.
read and like loyalties and stuff in the house are HOH, if one of them tries to like go in first.
Yeah.
I just can't wait until we get to like, oh, let's nominate and throw like they did on the show, and then it completely fails like it did on the show.
Yeah, multiple times. But yeah, so we had Brittany and Derek when head of household from the two different sides, and kind of like what Swan was saying, Brittany chose first and ended up going with Devin and Donnie for her nominees, and Derek nominates Caleb and Joey. I definitely think Caleb and Joey were probably the two like obvious ones. They just seemed to be pretty lacking on the first night and that part of the second day that they had.
Yeah, and I think most people were kind of itching to see that bunch be the final nominees.
Yeah, that was definitely the vibe that people were like, okay, well, Devin and Donnie can just like take themselves off of the block. So imagine everyone's surprise when Caleb and Joey, it was kind of close. I believe
Yeah.
the time was
4
like,
minutes apart
yeah, it was
or
like
so.
10 minutes something to like 13 or 14 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call that close.
I think I like got on my phone or something while it was happening because I think I was at work or something. And I saw like Joey like misspell unknown and then Caleb being like, I should have done the puzzle and stuff like that. And I was like, well, they're gonna lose. And they won.
And yet,
Yeah,
So-
I think Battle of the Block is interesting because normally every org starts off with like, oh, for first few weeks there's 2 easy noms, you throw them up. Now there's 4, so you got to think more about that as well. And then if
absolutely.
those
And
easy noms get safe, like we
Yeah.
saw,
exactly, it's you've got to find 4 names, and then also like the 2 easy ones could be on the same pair and
Yeah.
end up completely safe.
Yeah, and so
Which
yeah,
is kind of
especially
what we saw happen here.
there's situations like this where even cycle 1 where people were kind of working forward later in the cycle under the assumption that Caleb and Joey would be the final noms and what to do with that. And so when it immediately was just like flipped on its head and suddenly it's Donnie and Devin instead, people are already kind of like, oh my God, well, like, what are we going to do?
It will be
Yeah.
really interesting to see if we have HOHs work together in the future, like we had HOHs actually try to work together like they did this cycle, and see if they can split up those players that they view as on the bottom and one. That way we don't that way after having this experience, they don't get it to where the 2 nominees that people wanted are automatically gone.
Right.
I don't know if that'll be a strategy that we see happen or if it'll just be more butting heads. So
I hope they
I'm
don't
interested.
do that.
Yeah, I think
Way more fun this way.
I do
Imagine
desperately need like HOHs that hate each other. Like
give me a Tiny Plong and a
Absolutely.
Sunflower HOH in the same week. please.
Like,
Yes.
yeah, like imagine that would have been amazing. I
Oh
don't
my
really
gosh.
see this. I think there's a lot of interplay in this season.
Yeah,
I
there is
don't-
no sides at all right
No.
now.
So I don't really
No
see a
pasta
situation like that
salads.
happening, but it's like what Swan said, very much people like have their own like view of the world and what's going on. And so even like when we did trust rankings, like they were all over the place. Like there were
Absolutely.
people that had like 1s and 2s and 3s and people that had like 13, 14s and 15s. Like people are kind of riding their own waves and vibing with the people they like and not even bothering to message the people that they don't. Caleb and Joey take themselves off the block. Derek is dethroned as head of household, and they go into the veto. Our veto players, obviously Zach, because spoiler alert, Zach ends up winning the veto, was picked, I believe.
and
Was
Victoria
It
and
was Victoria and
Jocasta,
Jocasta.
Victoria and Jocasta, yeah, are picked to play in the veto.
which Donnie was very excited for because he was planting seeds with both Zach and Victoria about working with them both separately and together. And he did, I think it was well timed on his part because it was before the veto draw that he was having these conversations with them. So once they were like conveniently picked for veto, they all kind of like saw it as a sign of like, wow, we really should work together, blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
obviously, like we know where that led up to eventually.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
think right before Zach like officially used the PO again, spoiler, he uses it on Donnie.
Well, spoiler, he wins it.
Yeah,
We were talking about the draw, Sydney.
Another
Double
spoiler.
spoiler.
But just to set the stage, they do form an alliance. Zach, Victoria, and Donnie form the Thruple Showmance Alliance right before Zach actually used the veto on Donnie. So
Mhm.
Donnie was definitely making moves, and we
Yeah,
appreciate
that
it.
was great. Because, like, what are you gonna make this alliance with me and
Right.
then not use the veto on me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was making sure that he had things wrapped up on
Yeah.
that veto.
And it was so the veto was a very Pokemon knowledge themed. People did well and not so well to varying degrees.
I mean, everybody got it
people-
right.
That's true. I'm surprised that happened. Yeah, like Victoria and like Devin were kind of like non-factors. They were not going to win. Jocasta did a little better. And then it came down. Yeah, Donnie and Brittany, I think probably thought that they had really good times. I think they were both in like the 5-ish minute,
They were like 6-ish, yeah, just about.
range.
Second and third place.
Yeah, and then Zach just absolutely like blew everyone out of the water
Dominated.
and had like a minute in seconds for
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
time. And so people were like genuinely shocked at how well Zach did.
They were scared of
Only-
him a bit.
Yeah,
His
only
Pokemon
for him to
knowledge.
like go to house chat and be like, yeah, I have like thousands of hours in
Oh.
PCC battles.
I've got 1,800 hours in Pokemon. Like,
Yeah,
bro.
and everyone was like,
Honestly, that was probably his only misplay I really saw this week, because I did see some people go into their DRs and be like, "Oh my god, this guy has 1,800 hours of Pokemon on a
Yeah.
Pokemon season."
yeah,
I would not have
Like,
admitted that.
yeah,
so-
we need
But
to
for
get
me,
him
that
out.
only would like bother me if there's going to be a handful of like Pokemon knowledge competitions, which I know we're trying to
Sure.
like balance out the amount
Yeah.
of those because
Mhm.
it's
They don't
it's
know that, though.
unfair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they
True.
don't know that.
that's true.
You know.
And they just had a literal example of someone that has like a plethora of knowledge about Pokemon, absolutely like wipe the floor with them. So that makes sense. Not to mention the fact that he gets online and tells people that he's going to use the veto on Donnie.
Which, oh my god, round of applause for a week 1 veto play on
Yes.
a
on
third
a
party.
non-nominee.
Like,
I mean,
ugh.
That never happens. People are
Amazing.
always playing Big Baby week 1 of Big Brother, and they're
Absolutely.
like, well,
He really could have easily like discarded and been
Yeah.
like, Donnie, you'll be safe. We have the
absolutely.
votes.
Yeah.
Easily.
Absolutely.
and I think they would have. I think Devin would have gone home.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same.
I do think this is like two-sided for Zach. I think it one like outs relationships a little bit too much, maybe. Like I could see like 'cause everybody's already like, oh, okay, they must be a duo. But I think the other side of that is it shows him as like a unafraid player and
Yes.
who's willing to stick his neck out and be loyal. Like if I saw that behavior, I'd be like, oh, I want to be that dude's ally. Like
And
'cause
people
he's
are.
saving somebody fucking week 1.
And he also gets an increased amount of trust and a very strong #1 ally in Donnie week 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which, as we have seen Donnie be able to socially maneuver himself out of bad situations by getting Zach to use the veto on him, by getting a couple of different alliances with Zach, with Hayden later throughout the cycle, even while being a first week nominee. I think that's probably a good connection for him to have. And I think Zach recognized that. So that's really, really
Absolutely.
good gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, to
Yeah.
the point where even Donnie was like, if Zach uses the veto on me, he is my #1.
I mean, you're cementing an ally that will have your back because you really did have their back. In a
Yeah.
moment where Donnie's probably well aware no one uses veto unless you're the nominee first week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Zach starts telling people, he goes up, he tells Brittany, hey, I'm vetoing Donnie. Oh my god, that conversation was awkward. It was so bad. Because it's really like it's kind of like the two opposite ends of the spectrum of like people like Zach is really unserious and like super
Yes.
fun and like bubbly and stuff. And Brittany was like, what do you mean you're using the veto on Donnie? So I think Brittany was like, well, I'm not really comfortable with that, obviously, and I would prefer not to make a renom. And Zach was like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
And then as soon as she let it slip that it was going to be Frankie as the renom, he like there was no way he was discarding that veto anymore because that's the
No.
#1 person he wanted out.
Yeah, because I believe
Yeah.
Zach actually, after they got past the like, I'm gonna use the veto on Donnie, you're gonna have to make a renom. I believe Zach threw out Paula to be the renom.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's when she pushed back. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brittany was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." She didn't give. I think she actually might have. I know it was a lot more in her DR explaining why she didn't want
She
to.
said something about optics to him. I
Yeah, but
remember
she
that it
did
wouldn't
mention
look
to
good.
Zach like, "Oh, I'm not really comfortable with that." That conversation kind of ended. They didn't really land on like who would be the renom directly, but Brittany and Derek, from them working together, they got to talking. They also liked Nicole and Cody a lot. So they decided to form their own little group and have the other, I would say, like really prominent alliance of the first cycle, other opposite of the Donnie and Zach and Victoria group. They have this group, which Brittany
Best name ever.
so lovingly called Three Winners and a Fun Girl.
Funny
So
gal.
Brittany's
excuse
self-describing herself as fun
Really
gal.
funny.
It starts getting out there that Zach is using the veto on Donnie. And Brittany goes to her new alliance and is like, guys, what am I gonna sorry, it'd be more like, guys, what am I gonna do?
Who should I
Zach is
nominate?
going to use the veto on Donnie. I need a renom. Thoughts? That's where
Was
it was like.
Was it like, did Frankie's name get thrown out pretty quickly?
Yes.
I think it was
Yeah.
just like everyone latched onto it fairly easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when I remember I was messaging with Shinx, like right when it was coming out that like, oh, Zach for sure is gonna use the veto, Brittany's
Mhm.
gonna have to use a renom. And Shinx was immediately like, Frankie renom, going home, let's go, baby. And I was like, what? Why would
I
I
Frankie
think-
saw
use
it
a
from
veto?
the beginning.
Well, I knew
Yeah.
Frankie, it wasn't even that Frankie was like inactive. It's just that Frankie wasn't as active and like wasn't really like, who said it in their DR that Frankie was like too stan Twitter gay? The cast didn't know how to handle
I
him.
think it was
It
Cody.
might have been Cody or Brittany.
Yeah, I think
Cody,
no, I think it
don't
was
know.
Cody.
That
And I
was
think
it.
it's like I think Frankie's energy, even though it was like really fun and chaotic, was just like not meshing with a lot of the other house
It put
guests.
Zach off in the first hour of the game.
Yeah, so I think like due to like not being as active as everyone else and also just not matching the vibe, Frankie was like people were like all fine with Frankie. No one
Yeah.
had any issues with Frankie going.
Yeah, I
out.
think it was like Brittany didn't want Paola. Some
Yeah.
people didn't want Jocasta, but no one cared about Frankie. So that's
Yeah,
just how it
everyone
boiled
was like, "Oh yeah,
down
Frankie
to-
can go up. It's fine."
Yeah. It was kind of like what Swan was talking about. Everyone kind of has their own little pocket of people
Yes.
that they're like da da da, where you're bound to, if someone, at least one or two people are bound to be like, oh no, I like that person. Like I would prefer if you didn't do that.
Yeah.
And Frankie just didn't have that.
Frankie did
It
not
was
have a
Frankie,
single
Joey,
advocate.
and Caleb. And
Yeah.
look who's safe.
That
Look who's
just
not.
straight up like, and Joey and Caleb were already safe. And so yeah, I just kind of fell onto Frankie. I believe it was either Cody or Nicole was was one of the first people. I think it might have been Cody that was the first person that would be like, well, or actually no, Brittany. I think Brittany herself was even like, I'm thinking it's probably gonna have to be Frankie for the
Yeah.
reason. And Cody and Nicole were both immediately like, yeah, I'm good with that.
Yep.
Let's do
Yeah.
Frankie.
As was the rest of the house.
Yeah, and so it was. I mean, it was pretty quick because like after that conversation happened, I think Brittany ran back to Zach and was like, "Yeah, the renom's probably gonna be Frankie," and even Zach too was like, "Okay, cool, done. Let's do it."
Exactly.
Yeah, and Frankie, we talked about his personality not super meshing well with the cast, but on top of that, because of that personality difference, Frankie had a really hard time, even just in the first couple of days, even developing relationships with people that
Absolutely.
went beyond like, hi, good morning. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he had no
And-
engagement really with
Yeah.
No.
anyone, not even like the other like more inactive players, like with nobody. Like not one person I think really ever connected with him.
Mm-mm.
100%.
And I think we haven't really seen this ever happen a lot, just in the sphere of like we are playing as people that played on the actual season. But I think even if it was like kind of unconscious or not, because I think even there were even people like preseason like that were talking about how they didn't want to work with Frankie Grande.
Cody again. Frankie
Yeah. I
Grande
think it
needed to
really
talk in
worked.
3 days.
Yeah,
So
no,
I really
literally.
think
it worked against him. For
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think it was like the deciding factor. By
No.
any
No,
means,
no.
but I really think it's a real possibility that it kind of put Frankie on the back foot to begin with. And so
It's like-
that, along with him also not really meshing or being the most social person in the world, it really just like sunk his ship.
Yeah.
It's like that good first impression, and that's why Cody, like right off the gate, was like, I didn't pick Cody. he was assigned to me. Or like in season 11,
Yeah.
when Ray got Jeff, he was like, I was the last one to pick. I didn't want Jeff. It's like, so you got to say, yeah, I don't want these problematic people or these like
Yeah,
controversial people.
exactly.
I just got stuck with them, and don't let that base how you think of
Yeah.
me, and it usually pays off well.
Yeah, it's almost like the exact opposite for Cody. It's like
Yes.
the Cody Calafiore of like the real world, like Big Brother sphere. He's not exactly credited for being a net positive in Big Brother history. The person that is playing Cody, I think
Yeah.
their personality is such a stark difference
Mhm.
to Cody Calafiore, the real life human being, that
Mhm.
it's like honestly really working for him. And it's
No, it is.
yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
Frankie's personality is very similar.
Yeah.
At least the way that Buck decided to approach
Yeah.
it. That's why.
I think that's actually like that's what's so interesting about Big Brother Rewinds, that a lot of people like have to figure out as like a real strategic move is how are you gonna play your alt? Like, are you gonna play a character? Are you gonna be yourself with like some embellishments? Like, are you gonna try to literally role play like how we did in BBR6
Yeah.
as like a straight cowboy?
Yeah.
And like how
Yeehaw.
well you do it and like how well you pull it off and what you decide to do can like really impact your game.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
And I think Shinx and I were actually talking about this off the pod.
You have off the pod conversations?
Oh
We
my
do, I
God.
know, shocking. And we were talking about how it will be interesting to see this kind of thing play out going forward, because I think just because of the way that the world has evolved and the internet has evolved and Big Brother has evolved, people have more opinions about more recent players
It's true.
Mhm.
than they do about older
That-
players, even older players that have negative connotation to them. There's almost a nostalgia and a sentiment for. And
Yeah.
now going forward,
I mean, this
There's
literally
people-
is like Big Brother Rewind's entrance into like the modern era of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Brother.
Because we've had people who like, oh man, I want to wait for 7 to be Vanessa, wait for 20 to be Caitlyn, and then they play earlier, and it's like, now those spots are free. Like, who's
Yeah.
going to be
And
Vanessa?
especially because just a lot of demographics on Discord kind of skew younger anyways. So a
Mhm.
lot of these people are the people that are just have like are more recent Big Brother fans
Mhm.
and like have started
Yeah.
watching probably from because this is season 16 was actually that's a lie. Season 15 was the first season I watched live. But season 16 was the first season I ever watched live feeds on.
Same.
And like was the first time I was ever like I feel like an active participant in like Big Brother.
I was in.
Yeah, and so it's cool that we're kind of like entering the modern Big Brother era. It's exciting.
Yeah. I love it.
And what
And
better
10 years
way
after.
to enter with Frankie Grande getting unanimously
Going
elected in 16th place.
Legacy.
Yeah.
legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah, obviously it really wasn't that quick of a turnaround. All the cycle 1 deadlines and stuff, this cast was on top of it. Like
And I
it
love
was
it.
great. Love
It's
that.
awesome.
So yeah, it was pretty quick. Like Zach had the conversations like with Donnie and with Brittany, obviously, that he needed to. If people asked in the holdover time, he was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna use it on Donnie.
Mhm.
And like this is why and this is why. And like Zach just went ahead and used it. He was like, there's no point in waiting. And Brittany
Yeah.
was like, well, I already had the conversations with the people that I need to, so no point in waiting. And
Did she
Mhm.
tell Frankie?
she
There
sent a
was
message to Frankie, basically just the like, hey, so I have to do a renom, and sorry, but it's gonna have to be you. Good luck in the vote. And that was or
yeah,
sorry,
she like
it
she
would
said
be
she
more like,
typed it,
hey.
then he came online, and then she was like, oh fuck. And then she like did post it for 20 more minutes because she got scared.
Yeah.
So we waited 20 more minutes because she got afraid, but she
Yeah,
did tell him
and
for
yeah,
sure.
Frankie didn't. I think Frankie came online to being
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I didn't think Frankie knew until Frankie logged in to their account and they were a nominee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said in his DR, he was like, my strategy is to like, I'm not first step, don't go on the block. And then he comes online, he's on the block. And he was like, well, that failed.
Yeah.
initial thoughts, no inactives.
Wow. First thought, no inactives.
No inactives. Yeah, so Frankie Grande finds himself nominated as the renom.
And it's not looking good for him.
It's not, and let me
Immediately.
tell
Not
you,
quite.
I have to talk about this because I'm kind of obsessed with him. But Devin's fucking reaction to the veto not being used on him was wild. I don't even know where to start. It was wild. Devin was like, I'm the one that should get vetoed off of the block. Why is Donnie getting taken off?
He's
And
like, fuck Zach,
after-
fuck Donnie.
Yeah, like, what the fuck, Zach? What the fuck, Donnie? I should be the one safe. I'm the one that deserves to be
Based
voted.
off nothing.
Yeah, like unprompted, just like in his DR. It
This
was
veto
kinda
use saved Donnie more than it saved Devin, more than it saved Donnie, and Devin didn't even get taken off the block. Like,
Yeah.
that's the craziest part.
And it was just crazy. And Donnie, after being taken off the block, goes to Devin, like the understandable thing to do and the smart thing to do by Donnie, and being like, hey, one of us got taken off. This is great. This means we can both stay. Let's work on saving you, and we're going to save you with this vote. And instead of Devin being like, oh my God, like, thank you, I have like someone fighting for me and working for me, Devin goes to his DR and goes like, I'm not trying to be petty, but this just pissed me off. Like, I'm the one that should be campaigning or whatever. And I'm like, what's happening?
The entitlement and delusion is so
I'm
amazing.
obsessed with
I mean,
it.
But I
it
love it.
really is so iconic.
I know, I love
I
it.
love it.
Because
It's
it doesn't
everything.
come in waves. It just keeps happening.
No, it's a constant, it's a state of mind
Yeah.
for Devin. And I need that.
Yeah. And so Frankie and Devin, their speeches were fine. Like they were kind of just boilerplate, like, hey,
Yeah,
I
nothing
really still want to
special.
be here. Like, keep me in the game and you'll have an ally. Thanks. And no one felt particularly swayed either which way.
No, I mean, like I said, I feel like most people were all like, cause like we said, like Devin wasn't popular, but Devin at least had some like engagement and some people he'd been talking to. Whereas Frankie, like, I feel like nobody felt any type of way about Frankie leaving. I think some people would be like, well, maybe we should keep Frankie so he feels loyal to us, but not because they felt a connection with Frankie, just for like the idea of having a loyal ally because you saved him from the block, but they didn't even want to commit to that.
Yeah, the only one who like verbalized wanting Frankie to stay was Cody, and then Frankie lost the plot, and Cody was like, I can't help him anymore.
Yeah, like it's a lost
And we can get
cause.
into that in a second.
Yeah. So basically, no, there wasn't anyone that like immediately was like, oh, Frankie's going home. Like we're sending home
Yeah.
Frankie. I think people were kind of just waiting for someone to say something because
Yeah,
no one super cared either which way, kind of.
no.
Yep.
And so I think I want to say like because Zach had already been talking about not wanting to work with Frankie, kind of. And
Mhm.
then I really think Zach was one of the first few people to be like, well, I'm probably gonna evict Frankie. And that kind of really was all it took. Like people were
Yeah.
like yes anding, just like Frankie.
Absolutely.
So that kind of started the ball rolling, and more people were just like, yeah, I don't particularly care, but I think people are voting to evict Frankie, and I'm fine with that. So I'm just gonna do that. Kevin was like kind of campaigning,
Not really too
like out
much,
of the
but a
box.
little.
It was like the normal, and Frankie kind of just wasn't. Frankie was still in the like trying to small talk to like get
Yes.
to know people phase, and he really wasn't getting anything from that in the first place. But after he was the renom, he super wasn't getting anything from
Mhm.
anyone. And so at that point, Frankie kind of picked up on that people were really not, albeit probably about 3 or 4 days too late,
Yeah.
but that people were not vibing with conversations and everything. And so Frankie decides to go to ceremonies and call out Jocasta and Devin.
And me, for
I
whatever reason.
yeah. Did you guys? I still do not know why he called out Jocasta in particular. Like, what'd she do?
She didn't necessarily
Exists.
do anything, but Jocasta and Frankie's one-on-ones, even after Frankie got evicted, had maybe a total of like 15 messages in it. But the very first message in that DM was was Jocasta sending the video of the woman saying, I am gagging for you, faggot. Come on back.
Catherine Hahn is a national treasure.
That's
That should
not
not be
Catherine Hahn.
forgotten.
Oh my
Is it
but
not?
God.
That's not Catherine Hahn?
It's from a TV show. No.
Oh
And
Jesus.
so I don't know what came across Frankie's mind to particularly go for Jocasta. Maybe he just felt however about it. I'm gonna read it directly because it was hilarious.
Okay.
But Frankie goes to ceremonies, tags all the house guests, and says, I want all of you to know that if you keep me here, I will be loyal to you and pay back your kindness in the future. As for some of the other house guests who have left me on scene, Tornado Frankie is coming for this house. Sparkle, sparkle. And he sends a Photoshop picture of Jocasta with a knife in her head and her stomach slit open.
Jesus Christ.
Frankie and Jocasta proceed to get into a public fight in the house chat.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie's kind of just saying stuff, really, like calling Jocasta a snake and that none of what she says is real and that Devin is like her cohort and that everyone needs to get Devin out and keep Frankie so that Frankie can go after Jocasta. And it goes about as far as it started. Like it really doesn't do anything.
It was pretty much just entertainment fodder for the rest of the house guests. It absolutely changed nobody's opinion about
No.
anything, if not being like, oh, Frankie is a sinking ship.
Yeah.
Better
absolutely.
evict him.
And so after that kind of falls on deaf ears, the next morning after more of the same, Frankie goes in all caps, not dealing with any fake shit this morning, prioritizing my mental health. The fakes know they're fake and the real ones know they're real. And sends a picture of Jocasta with giant fake letters hyperimposed in front of it. Same thing for Devin. And then
And then
Shinx.
Shinx.
And then me,
Shinx
because
for
of
some
course.
reason. We never figured out why Shinx got called out.
Why not, I guess,
Just
right?
did.
Not Brittany. The funny thing about this the entire time
No, yeah.
is Brittany, the HOH who backdoored Frankie unanimously as the first boot, did not catch a single stray
No.
on
Oh,
Frankie's
no?
way out.
Not at all.
No.
It was wild.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So the votes are coming in. Devin basically sees Frankie self implode like live in front of him and is like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't have to do anything. It's not like he really was doing much in the first place.
No, but he really sat back. He was
Yeah,
like,
after that, he was
yeah.
really like, okay, I super don't have to do anything. Let's come in and Frankie Grande is unanimously evicted 13-0 in 16th place.
Backdoored.
Round of applause for Frankie Grande, everybody.
Long may he reign.
We miss him already.
We
Yeah.
truly do. I guess another thing of note, there was an alliance that even to me kind of came out of nowhere, but it is still an alliance of Zach and Donnie and Hayden and Joey that was formed that are called the Diamonds in the Rough. It seems like Hayden and Joey are actually pretty close. And Joey, far and away of the first batch of nominees, was the person that kind of like turned it around and tried to be
Yeah.
like, okay, let's
Yeah.
stuff.
Other than Donnie.
Yeah, well, other than Donnie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joey and Donnie, definitely. Devin still is kind of just meandering, and Caleb is like basically a non-factor at this point. I know Donnie and Hayden are pretty close themselves as well.
Hayden is a sneaky under the radar player right now.
Yeah.
That
Love
everybody
it.
seems to like. He didn't make a whole bunch of waves
Mm-mm.
in the first cycle, but he didn't really have to.
No.
He really set himself up with some really good social connections.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think when we were looking at the trust rankings, we were all surprised at how high Hayden was. Wasn't he
high.
like third or
Yeah,
fourth?
he was like number 3.
Yeah.
It was like Cody, Zach, Hayden.
He's playing a very, very solid under the radar game at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm really
Mhm.
interested. He's one of those players that I have my eye on going forward
Absolutely.
of what
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what he does.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think another person that kind of qualifies for that, Amber doesn't have any like concrete like can point to this channel and be like, this is
Mhm.
my alliance yet, but a lot of people are really interested in working with her. She was also towards the top of the trust rankings and everything.
Mhm.
She really likes like Cody and Zach, but that's everybody. Everybody wants to work with Cody and
Yeah.
Zach.
I would say
Yeah,
Nicole. Nicole for
absolutely.
me has been the biggest like I would say I totally agree with Hayden. I think Hayden and Nicole are in the same boat where I think there are two presences where they have a great social game. They have a lot of connections going on. They have alliances going on, but they're not making any waves. Like they're in a house with a lot of very chaotic, very like driven to the spotlight people. And I feel like Nicole is in an amazing position right now.
Mhm.
And like no one has picked up on it yet.
Yeah.
Like I think the biggest issue that's going to come forward with Cody and Zach is that people haven't really said anything about it yet, but I think they will. That Cody and Zach, everybody likes Cody and Zach.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to work with Cody and Zach, and they're super at the forefront of the game, which right now is working very well for them, but could be an issue in the future. Whereas I think Nicole is like very much in like the back corner, but playing a very similarly strong social game.
Yeah, very rarely the like such clear front runners at the very beginning
Yes,
are
yeah.
able to stick it out the whole way.
Exactly. So I think Nicole is the one I'm kind of keeping an eye on, but I feel the same way about Hayden too. I think Hayden has a little less set up than Nicole.
Yeah.
But I think Hayden is doing everything that he needs to do to position himself, and I think that he's another person I'm kind of keeping my eye on in the future.
Yeah. We've already largely, I feel like, talked a lot about Cody, so I don't think we really need. Oh, something I will say about Cody actually. Cody and Jocasta have
Oh,
their
yeah.
own little like side thing going on.
Oh yeah.
Which they just seem to really vibe, I guess, which is fine.
Yeah, and which is amazing for Jocasta.
Yeah,
honestly.
absolutely. It's kind of one of the few things, at least for this cycle, especially, that is keeping Jocasta from kind of falling down into that lower contenders spot.
Absolutely.
So that's great to have. If you want to have someone in your corner of anyone, I would probably say Cody is the good person. So that's good for Jocasta.
Absolutely.
We go with Derek now, I guess. We just go alphabetical.
Yeah, Derek, I think his brief stint as HOH went pretty well. Not to quote myself for my own power rankings, but I did pretty well. So I think that he positioned himself well using the power when he had it. I mean, he came out of that week like no one was mad at Derek, like no one was upset with his nominations. He took, honestly, I don't think any heat at all for what he like for nominating anybody.
Yeah.
So, and he's in some alliances. He's got like strong allies. He's close with Brittany. Cody and Zach like him. So I think he's well positioned. His personality is fun. Like there's just so many big personalities in this game. Like he doesn't really stand out to me as one of the biggest, but I enjoy like reading his DR. Like he's a fun character in the season.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Obviously, like Caleb and Joey are gonna be pissed at Derek just for nominating, but
right,
if you're gonna want to have people that are mad at you, like Caleb and Joey.
Caleb and Joey are
they're
not
the best
worst
ones that if they're gonna be mad at you, want them to be mad at you, not anybody else.
Yeah. I think we talked about Donnie a fair amount. I think we kind of hit
Yeah, we
all the
did.
important stuff for Donnie.
Yeah.
We talked about Hayden pretty much and what's going on with Hayden. Not one of like the forefront people this cycle, but he's definitely working a lot in the background.
I will. The only thing I'll say about Jocasta is like I think she's really funny.
Oh
Like
yeah.
she's actually like one of the funniest people in the house for me, which is what makes it sad that her game is just so weak and like kind of sloppy right now.
Yeah.
But the fact that she has Cody in her pocket and enough people like Jocasta that they don't want her going up. I mean, I don't think her game is anywhere near over. Like she has room to kind of come around the corner and do better, but she's really funny. So the longer she stays in the house, the better, because she makes me laugh.
Absolutely.
I just really wish she's really invested in the relationships she's really invested in.
Yes.
But in her outskirts relationship, like beyond like her like, I don't know, top 3 or 4 people who she messages constantly, she does not talk to the people that are on the
that's why she has people who have her back, but then everybody else is like, fuck Jocasta.
Yeah. That's why Jocasta doesn't have anyone ranking her like in the middle in her trust.
No, she's either first essentially or last.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see, and I don't want to spoil next week already, but I think we'll see if the wrong HOH comes into power, that could be a problem for her.
Oh, absolutely.
I
think it absolutely could be a problem for her.
Yeah, if that happens, and it could not. Yeah. She just needs, I just want her to put as much investment as she does in those few core relationships as she does with like her. She doesn't have to do it with everyone, because one, that's super exhausting. And two, I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was Zach, when Zach was talking about how he's not really putting in effort with like Caleb and somebody else, because if he does happen to win, he needs someone to put on the block. You can't be friends with absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
But Jocasta needs to broaden her circle of people she at least is cordial.
Yeah. She's kind of almost playing like a jury game, like a game where there's only like 7 or 8 people and everyone's decided who they like and who they don't like. And for the most part, like, if this person gets HOH, I'm probably going to be nominated. She's playing that game with the cast of 14 other people right now. It was 15 before, now 14. And like, I don't think that kind of gameplay really ever works with pre-jury stuff, because there's just so many unknowns. Like so many different people could be HOH. So many people could win POV, especially with Battle of the Block with that twist. Like it just makes it even more chaotic. So she really does need to kind of get her shit together or don't and leave, you know?
Yeah, I think we touched on most of what Joey had going on. She was lacking, and then one Battle of the Block and like largely, well, not largely, but at least started turning things around and getting
For
people to
sure.
actually like her.
Her
Yeah.
art in her DR of being
The
absolutely
shadiest of the
like,
bunch, and I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
yeah, pissed at Derek, which like I mean I get because you were just nominated, but it
Yeah.
was so funny. Like she listed off a group that she wanted to be the full pre-jury boots, and I was like,
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
good luck,
awesome.
sister.
I do have to mention one of my favorite moments from this cycle
Yes.
was involving Joey. And it was right after Joey was told by, I believe, both Brittany and Derek that she was going to be nominated by one of them. And it was within this rant that Graeme was just referring to, about her just rage at being in this situation. Brittany goes to do the first nominees and does the key command for Donnie and spells it wrong and is like, why isn't this working? And Shinx ended up having to do it. And immediately, without skipping a beat, Joey in her diary went, bitch can't even spell.
It's
And that was,
amazing how much they hate each other.
I
It's been
know.
Joey's
3
awesome.
days at that point,
Yeah,
or
no,
2 days at
I'm
that
fully
point.
here for this like Joey like scorched earth arc. I want to see it happen.
No,
Yeah,
my
Joey,
favorite
I would say
Joey
Joey's
moment.
the only one coming for Derek's neck right now, so
Yeah.
My favorite Joey moment of this cycle was not that. It was actually once Frankie went in at Jocasta for no
I know
reason.
what you're gonna say.
Joey said in her DR, she said, not the first two boots going at it like this.
And even just like completely removed, if you were just showing that to somebody of like Joey, the first boot, like first person ever evicted 13-0,
Yeah.
Joey from Big Brother 16, talking about Frankie Grande and Jocasta, saying not the first two boots in house chat. That's hilarious.
It
it
was
was really everything.
Shinx, do you want to talk about Nicole a little bit? I know we talked
The love
about
of your
it a
life.
bit, but
Okay,
um,
okay, okay. I just she's doing well.
Yeah.
Like this is about what I expected, and then some. She's not like at the top of the pack because she's not on Cody or Zach levels, but she's like right behind them. And for every lines Cody has, she's probably going to be trailing right behind him. And America voted her to Team America the first one.
Yeah.
and
We
that's
get to
just going to
Victoria
be
in like
a
5
built-in
seconds.
alliance for her. So
Yeah.
Also, can I say, I feel like Nicole is another good example of like, I mean, some people love Nicole. Those people are in the room right now with us, and some people hate Nicole.
it's me.
So
Hey.
she's
I
not
love
like
Nicole.
universally hated. Like people love her, but a lot of people don't like her at all. And I think she's done an amazing job of coming in and being like a very likable. Like no one has beef with Nicole right now. Everyone likes her. She's coasting. Like she's got a really like bubbly, nice personality. Like she's definitely like not being held back at all by the fact that some people, because Nicole Franzel, she's a little infamous amongst
She's a
us.
I
very
think she's
contentious.
channeling
Yeah.
the real season 16 Nicole energy that
Oh,
everyone
God.
used to love back
Oh,
then, and I
Jesus.
see it translating.
I would be shocked if she's not here for a very long time.
I mean, if she stays on the trajectory she's on now, I think I can't imagine her not making it to jury, and I can see her making a very deep run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
like if
definitely a
she
contender.
stays on the track, like the trail she's on now, especially if Cody and Zach start taking bullets later on, because they're such big presences, that's gonna really benefit for her.
For sure.
So
Someone kind of in a similar spot as Hayden. Wasn't incredibly like prevalent and front and center in the conversation for second one. But Victoria. I think Victoria is doing a lot of really good things. A lot of I don't think I've seen anyone talk negatively about Victoria. There might be some people that maybe she doesn't talk with as much. But for every person that she doesn't talk with as much, there's one or two people that don't talk to them at all. So Victoria was voted in as the second member of Team Rocket. She was very excited about it. It seems like both Nicole and Victoria were both very excited. So I'm excited to see how all that goes.
She's one of those players that she's kind of sitting in the middle of the pack right now. But week one, that's not a horrible thing to do because she reached out and she has enough connections with good, solid, strong players. She's very closely aligned with Zach. She's very closely
Mhm.
aligned with Donnie. She's working on her relationship with Hayden. Like
Mhm.
she's got a lot of good social connections kind of being built in right now. I think for her, it's going to be about keeping herself kind of in a floater position, less of like a coaster position,
Mhm.
because there's a difference between being a coaster in the competition and being like a floater. Like floating feels like a
Floating is an active choice.
yeah, floating is like an active strategy. And I think Victoria is going to be someone who's going to be able to do that, at least deep into jury territory, and
Yeah.
kind of being able to float
Yeah.
Yeah.
and get
Well,
there.
people really like her. So
Yeah,
and
I think
she has the potential. Like she's set up the potential in her game to do more.
yes, her and
Yeah,
Hayden are in
she's
a very
already
similar spot,
yeah.
but just with different levels, varying levels of social
Yeah.
ability
Mhm.
at
Yeah,
this.
they're both close with Zach, and now I got it happened at the end of week 1. Zach also got voted into Team Rocket. That's another avenue between Victoria and Zach that Zach and
Mhm.
Hayden don't have. Plus the throuple thing with Donnie.
Yeah.
So it's like Zach's little web is pretty. Like I'd say his top. It's not his top 3, but like the optics of like who has him in their top, like Donnie, Victoria, and Hayden
Yeah.
seem like they seem like
Absolutely.
pretty well insulated.
We've talked a lot about Zach already. I don't.
Yeah, Zach, we've given the tea.
And I just
Yeah.
realized that we didn't talk about Christine, and that's
That sounds
about
good.
right.
That she's trying.
I will
That's
say
okay.
we were
Yeah.
talking about being shocked at how high Hayden was. Same thing with Christine. Christine was like halfway, basically. I think she kind of just averaged out because even she was like, she
I
isn't.
think she's aware of her position. She's
Yeah,
not actively trying to change it right now, but she's not doing nothing. So I'll give her
no.
that.
Like she is socializing with people.
Yeah.
And she talks a lot about, like, I posted on one of the alliance charts or whatever, because she's another person that's not in like a physical, like, point to this alliance chat that I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
But she has a lot of people that she wants to work with, and the people that she wants to work with are like the right people to want to have connections with, like Nicole and Hayden and Cody.
I do see her potentially being in the Frankie spot of if a renom comes about and 2 people are
Yeah.
safe, it's gonna be like who really cares about Christine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
at that point, she'd be better off being an initial nom since she has 2 chances for safety
I would agree.
versus this other
Absolutely.
outlook.
For
Yeah,
sure.
because it's like people like Christine. I don't think anyone like dislikes her or
No.
has anything like against her, but yeah, like I don't think anyone's repping for her.
Mm-mm.
So I think she would be, if she was a final nominee, I think she'd be in trouble.
All right, well, that was kind of our little cast rundown. We
Yeah.
want to do every episode kind of a little like point system almost. And for each person that is like present on the podcast, we'll each get like an MVP, like a person that was like our favorite for the cycle, that we wanted to showcase a bit, and then a person that I don't want to say like LVP, but I guess I just
We
said
want to
that,
see
but
more from you.
yeah,
Yeah,
someone that
we want you
wanna
to do
see more
better.
from.
Do
Absolutely.
better.
For me, MVP of the episode, there was a lot of really strong players, but I'm just thoroughly entertained by Cody so much right now. Came out of the gate like hard, super social, super funny, great DRs. He's a fellow comp thrower, like a social king like that. So I love that for him. Super excited to see him play. And then for me, I just really, really need more from Paula.
Mhm.
I know Paula can do well. I think the alt part might be holding her back a bit right now, and maybe just the dual account balancing. But she has already shown she can do well in comms. She's been socially well enough with a few people to at least like not have been the like Yunnan like first boot idea
Mhm.
for most people.
Mhm.
So I want to see her bring that social energy to everybody, and see if she can kind of find a better footing in the game.
My MVP, who I'm going to give a point to, is Zach.
Mhm.
Because even though I do think, and I ranked Cody higher than Zach in terms of like positioning and gameplay, Zach, I think it was pretty impressive that Zach won POV, used it on someone that wasn't himself because he wasn't nominated, and then essentially caught no heat for it. Everyone was pretty much okay with it. And then it worked out for him. Like it was a little bit of luck, but the fact that Frankie just like self-imploded and kind of took all the spotlight over to him. I mean, he made moves for a first cycle and is positioned extremely well. Everybody wants to work with him. He has very strong duos and like 3 or 4 different other like really strong players.
Mhm.
So I think that in terms of like personality and in terms of making moves and like being aggressive, but like strategically, he did the best. And the loser, LVP, I'm just kidding. The person I want to see more from, I'm going to say, this is going to sound kind of maybe, I'm going to say Amber. And Amber got ranked highly, and so it's not like she's at the bottom of the pack or anything. But Amber to me is probably maybe my favorite personality. Like Amber cracks me up. Like she is really, really funny and really charismatic. And it shocks me that she's not in any alliances yet when I think she really should be. I mean, it's really makes no sense to me that she's not. So I would like to see what she can do with power. If she does well, if she does poorly. I'm interested to see what she does with her
Yeah,
game.
absolutely.
There's so much potential, but I also think Amber is pretty. I can definitely see her being very self-destructive.
Mhm.
But she doesn't have to be. I mean, she has a lot of social power right now, so that's who I'm looking out for right now.
Shinx, do you want to go
All right.
next?
My MVP isn't Zach, but I do want to add because I just remembered this. He was first out of the HOH. Brittany took him out first. So this turnaround that he's doing,
Oh wait, that's
Yeah.
right. He
For, like,
was. I totally
first out of
forgot.
the HOH,
Because he
usually
sent
an
that
active
gift
straw first.
and he was like, I
Yeah.
didn't want to win anyways. And
Yeah.
crying. I forgot about
I
that.
think that's where his beef with Brittany started from, but I do think just inherently between all the love that he's getting, I have to pick Cody as number one. Cody Cauliflower,
Mhm.
just MVP. I think he is doing well, and his castle may fall, but it's sturdy for now, and I'm not going to take that away from him.
For sure.
Mhm.
And then who I want to see more from, I'm going to copy Swan here. I know, I was going to say Putnam. I'm going to say Caleb because Caleb's the weird one where they were the first one to apply. And then they were like, when I invited them, they were like, yeah, fuck it, let's play. So he's in and he's here now. And I think the timing hasn't been working out for him, but he still wants to be here. So I'm like, okay, you definitely want to play. So like act like it. Because if you
Right.
didn't, you're still trying. So clearly you still want to do this. So it's like
Yeah.
they could have knocked on the comp. Like they had a prior engagement, they came on
Yeah.
late at night, did the comp. So I'm like, okay, Caleb wants to be here. There's something in there.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna like advocate for like everyone be their best. So yeah, come on, Caleb, turn it up, be
Mhm.
smart cowboy. Let's do it. But that's
Yeah.
where I stand.
Great. Graeme, do you want to go?
Yeah, so my MVP of this cycle is a little bit of an off-kilter one. I'm not going for someone who was like 1 through 5 in the power rankings. They're really in the middle of the pack. My MVP of this week in terms of actual gameplay was Donnie. I
Ooh.
really think Donnie had such an interesting week going from very first nominated to getting him staying on the block to finding out ways to get himself off of the block that didn't involve him directly winning power. I think that's a very useful ability going forward throughout the game. I think that being able to do that is a really big asset. And I think he was able to really set himself up as in the core of the social stratosphere and the social game happening this season without putting himself in the line of fire like someone like Zach or Cody. Now, he is kind of lower on the power rankings because he did have that nomination and was on the block and didn't win Battle of the Block, and so he was technically at risk, although I think we can all agree I don't think he was ever
No.
truly at risk of going
Yeah.
home. I
Yeah.
think he stayed pretty much versus anybody that was nominated this week.
Yeah.
But I think his gameplay to get Zach, one of the biggest players, to use the veto on him, to get himself off without him even having to win a competition, and he lost 3 competitions this cycle. Which could come back to be a problem. We don't, I don't know if that's going to be like a habit for him, but I think him kind of working his way from being a nominee to being in a really, really, really good spot and being in the center of the power structure without getting a target on him is very, very impressive. So Donnie is going to be my MVP of the week.
Same.
And the player that I really want to see more from, I mentioned it earlier, it's Joey. I really want to see more from Joey because Joey is so funny in the DR. Joey is a little firecracker. Joey's a spitfire in the DR. like talking about I can't believe the first two boots are going at it, or talking about like bitch can't even spell. Like I really want to see more of that. You right? Like that's what this category is for. And I really want to see more of that from Joey, because I think if Joey can bring that into the actual game and their social conversations with other people, I think that Joey could really rise. Because like we saw, Joey was someone who was also a nominee, got herself off the block with Battle of the Block, really went for it, got herself in an alliance with Zach, which is a great thing for her, right? And Hayden and Donnie. You know what I mean? Like, so she's at least savvy enough to get herself in positions with people in power. I just really want to see her continue to work on that, because I think she could really branch out. Like, I think her personality would really mesh well with someone like Amber, right? Who they're both really dry, they're both really spitfire. Like, I think that she could really, really get herself in a much better position. So I want to see a lot more from her, because I think she has more to offer. I mean, who knows? She might go out this next week, but you never know. But that is who I want to see more from.
Great. Yeah, I couldn't think of anyone else that I would pick other than Zach for MVP. I honestly think that Zach is playing just as well as Cody. I in my mind, really at this current point, like Zach and Cody are like the two like main front
The
runners.
Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
That's what this episode should be titled. The Sweet Life of Zach and
Absolutely.
Cody.
The Sweet Life of Zach
Yes.
and Cody.
Good one.
We'll do it. They named their one-on-one that as
Yeah,
well.
Sweet Life.
But yeah, Zach and Cody and Zach really are just like the 1 and 2. I think it can kind of switch even like from minute to minute, just based on conversations and stuff like that. But I personally think that Zach is playing just as well as Cody, and even more entertaining. I think Cody's really entertaining too, but Zach is just like my like brand of crazy that I love. And I think he's here to play. He's not afraid to make an ally and save someone with the veto week 1 if it benefits him. And he's already in like 3 alliances or 4 alliances, and there's just more and more people that want to be in them with him. So I think he's doing great. So Zach is for sure my MVP. And then for my LVP, I touched on this earlier while we were talking, but I'm going to say Devin for my LVP, my person I want to see more of, because a lot like what Sydney was saying with Amber, I think Devin is fucking hilarious, whether it's intentional or not.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like such a large level of delusion that we've seen from someone playing in rewinds in quite some time. And just everything, whenever I see Devin's DR light up, I go to it. And because it's always amazing. And he has a lot of really bad reads that aren't accurate at all. But for every like 10 bad reads that he has a couple good ones. He really wants to work with Zach and Donnie. And that's great. That's a great place to go to. It's not exactly a unique trait, like kind of wants to work with Zach and Donnie. So I know in there somewhere there is some good game ideas that are happening, and I honestly just really want to see him win HOH and go crazy.
Me too. Why is he literally Bandana Waddle Dee from last season though?
Oh God.
Are they not the same?
I thought he's giving more like Russell
No.
BBR 11 to me, but that's just me. But
that's true. I think he's got a lot of personality, but to me, it's like I see the similarities in like being delusional, having like the right reads in terms of who you want to be aligned with, but then like hating anybody who ever raises a finger against you, even if you like ghosted them and didn't talk to them, like but suddenly like they're your enemy.
Exactly.
Same energy. Which
it's like Bandana Waddle Dee except in a super aggressive package.
Yes, exactly. And I'm also rooting for him to win HOH. I'm absolutely
I really want it to happen. Sydney, do you want to give a rundown of your trainer of the episode real quick, and then we'll wrap this sucker up?
I mean, thankfully I can keep it short because pretty much my MVP and trainer of the week this week were the same. They will not be the same every week, but for me, it was also Zach. I mean, Zach was just such a standout. Absolutely. And like I said, like the fact that he was having a strong game already and then was able to use POV on his ally, really not upset anybody other than like a slight moment of like, this is really awkward. Like, I don't want to have to renom someone from Brittany. And then, so to again get Donnie's loyalty, set up all these alliances that he really doesn't even want to be in, but people just like him so much they keep pulling him into stuff.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, again, it can cause problems later, but it's a great position to be in now. And for all of those reasons, I think that he is trainer of the week.
Hell yeah.
Have we ever really seen something like this on a BB Rewind season where we have two absolute Mack truck social forces like Cody and Zach
I don't
going
think
at it?
so.
You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
know.
Not really. There's been plenty of times where it's like one person that
Yeah.
really just like
And then
comes
like kind of a
late.
runner up, but not
Yeah.
so close together.
But no, yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't, at least from off the top of my head, I can't think of.
Yeah, I think I do think that it's a BB Rewind tradition for strong duos where one person is usually the stronger one, and then throughout the game they stay really close and they both become like really strong and like strong jury threats. That's typical, but it's not usual that it just comes out the gate this way.
Yeah.
Especially because Zach and Cody also like
They're
each
not
other
even.
a lot.
Yeah, and
They're
Yeah.
tight, but I don't
even,
think they're like.
they're in their each other's like top like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
ranks
they're
or
not like each other's
something.
number one duos, but they're close. Like
Yeah, and
they trust
they
each other.
very much got like their own thing going on. They're
So
brilliant.
it's definitely unique for me. I love it.
It's super fun.
Yeah, it's such a fun dynamic.
We want to go through, so obviously this is cycle 1, this is our premiere cycle. We want to take a moment to reflect and honor our history in Big Brother Rewinds. We have quite the backlog of seasons and stuff at this point, so we just thought it'd be fun to go back and think of our fun moments that would have taken place in that cycle. So this is cycle 1, so obviously this episode will be talking about our particular favorite like either cycle 1s or cycle 1 moments, or maybe people evicted in cycle 1, and just kind of taking a little stroll down memory lane.
No, I hate first cycles because I end up winning.
That's exactly what we
HOH.
can talk about. We
I
have
end up
on
winning
our
HOH
panel,
when I don't want to win HOH, but I have to win HOH because of a dumb
exactly.
fucking
We have a
twist.
3-time first cycle HOH winner.
Period.
That's Swan's favorite moment. There we go. That's perfect.
I hope me and
Ladies-
Shinx have the same one, because if anyone who's listening, it's who doesn't know that me and Shinx both played BBR6 together. For me, it's definitely BB Rewind 6. Jennifer wins HOH. Her secret partner is Cappy, who is obviously the clear first boot. He's totally like not there. He has the iconic quote in his DR of saying, "Wow, first thoughts, no inactives." So
that
iconic.
we've referenced like 4 times in this
that we've
episode.
already said because it's so everything. And then Jennifer, obviously not wanting to give up the fact that Cappy's her partner, feels forced to put up Cappy on the block. Sends a message saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have to put you on the block. Like, you need to get your shit together." Cappy does not get his shit together, and he is, I think, like the unanimous first boot. Like,
It
I
was
think
either
it was
unanimous or like
one vote. Yeah.
I've got it all pulled up right here. It was 11
might have
of
been 1 or
11.
2.
It was unanimous.
It was unanimous.
Yeah. There you go.
So, I mean, and a beautiful thing to happen for someone to win HOH and then essentially have to get their own secret partner evicted because their secret partner is dead weight. Next cycle, Jennifer, was it Janelle won?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Janelle
The
wins
one and
HOH
only
cycle 2.
head of household that Jeevan has won in
Jeevan
his
has
entire
ever
stint.
had.
Wow.
3 seasons.
Yep, Jeevan wins second cycle HOH, nominates Jennifer, Jennifer leaves.
Yep.
So good.
I do want to just make this quick note as I was looking through. I'm not picking this one, but Portia telling everyone to touch grass as they were being ejected. for an activity.
That was
Good. Good.
And
shit.
Love
the
and miss
point-
Portia.
Of week 1, like social threats, season 13. I don't know how I forgot that. Between Angie, Amber, and Shelly alone. That was its own weird thing that I completely forgot. But my favorite week moment is honestly, it's a little self-involved. It's not me sweeping last season. It's me misinterpreting Hades' final words and not knowing about it for their. I'm sitting here at final 3 saying Hades called me a cheater, and you're like, no, the fuck he didn't. And I'm sitting there clueless, and I don't find out until the votes are locked, and that's just really funny to me. And
I
that's
could
just how
tell
you.
you. I felt like that was still like pertinent game stuff almost. But yeah, Shinx thought that the first boot of the season, Hades. I don't even remember fully what he said, but it was something
like,
along the lines of,
no one does it that fast or something.
Yeah.
You're implying I'm a cheater? Like, what?
Yeah, and so the whole season, Shinx thought that the first boot of the season called him a cheater for the first HOA, but really it was just the first boot of the season telling Shinx to get a life. So
My favorite, I have two. I'm gonna briefly touch on it, but season 12, the
Oh,
cursed
God.
season of having two people go out on the same day, cycle one, because one walked and one was ejected from the game. So we automatically started with two less people, just completely set the tone for Big Brother 12.
Such
Like
a
it was
mess.
like
11. It's a
nothing
cast
else.
of 13, mind you.
Yeah.
13 players.
We got to jury on like day 12.
It was day 8.
Day 8 we got to jury because
The
of that.
final
Like,
pre-juror left on day 8. Yep.
it was iconic in the worst way. But Shinx briefly touched on mine, but my real one is gonna be season 13 of Portia not talking to anybody and then finding out she's a last nom, running on, trying to make deals with every single person like a secret alliance, and then leaving again and not saying anything after we're all like, okay, yeah, let's work together, do whatever. And then she leaves. And then she gets evicted and tells us all to touch grass. And also Shelly thinking I was offering her a final 2 30
Oh.
minutes into the season
And declining.
and declining that final 2 and telling it was a mess. It was a mess.
So good.
So
My personal favorite, be it cycle one moment, is going to come from my personal, still my reigning favorite season of Big Brother Rewinds, Big Brother Rewinds 11, where so we had some returning players join in and have cliques, and Swan, our Sheila, had his second of first head of household brains, after the populars won. Just that HOH competition at the beginning in itself probably could have sealed it for like favorite cycle, because we did like not categories, but it was like
It was
Pictionary,
Pictionary or some shit.
and it was so bad, and everyone's guesses were terrible, and the drawings were awful, and it was so entertaining. The man, the myth, the legend that was Russell on Big Brother Rewinds 11 was everything you would want in a first boot. He wasn't super active. He immediately gets into this beef with Jordan and Brayden, making fun of Russell being bald. After the brains click,
decimated.
yeah, the beginning of the decimation of the brains click. Russell and Kevin, another member of the brains, was nominated. Kevin's entire campaign strategy consisted of copy pasting the same message of "Don't vote me out, please," to literally everybody on the cast.
Did he make t-shirts?
He did.
He did make
I believe he did
t-shirts.
make t-shirts.
He did.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then Russell, after he's evicted, I think he was also, it was either unanimous or I think it maybe 1 or 2 votes might have been
That one
to Kevin.
was
I feel like I
12 of
remember
13.
Natalie and like Shima.
Shima voted for Kevin,
Yeah.
and everyone else voted for Russell.
Yeah, but it was not close. After Russell's evicted, he has his own little mini speech and he curses Brayden bald. I've referenced that countless times just in the background of like random artwork that we've used since that season. And just the phrase "I curse you bald" will never not leave my brain.
It's so good.
And it truly was a highlight. It was the perfect start to an amazing season of Big Brother Rewind. Much like I think we've had here. I think that's all we got for the Rewinds Rewind this episode.
Basically.
This was
We
super.
definitely rewinded.
Yeah, we
a
rewound.
We
Quite a bit.
rewound.
Rewound.
We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.